Hello, welcome to session 5. My name's Kim Blake and this session is on viewing accounts. Just have a couple of PowerPoint slides to show you and then I'll move into the live system. So the agenda for this session is to look at the available billing sessions that we've created for you. And today we will view the account relationship with the meter. We'll look at all of the accounts. We'll look at the available actions and then the relevant pages in the online user manual. So the other sessions that we have, we've got the view accounts, which is the one we're on now. And then there's further sessions on viewing the invoices, add-in invoices, EDI billing, so your electronic billing, queries, adding them and how to work through them, accounts payable files, how to create them, portfolios and validation. So each account is in a portfolio and a portfolio will have a validation set of rules. And then the contracts. So the contracts will hold the pence per unit, VAT, standing charge, etc. So let me move into the live database. And I'll go back to my home page, which is my tree configuration. So we'll start off in here. So I've gone to setup and then configure tree. And we'll have a look at, we've got our team demo company, and then you can have a company underneath a company. You've got your groups, you've got sites, and then you've got your meters underneath a site. So I'm just going to do a search for you. So just to a recap on that, if I type mains elect, that's the name of my meter, comes up with this. Or if I come out of that search and I type part of or all of an MPAN and search, it will come to the meter. So the meter sits underneath the site and then the account is within the meter itself. So we don't see it here from the front page. As we've looked at before, we've got the reading frequency of the meter, we've got the serial number, in this case the MPAN, so the two parts of the MPAN, tick boxes or crosses as to whether or not the meter is cumulative, main meter, etc. The date when the last data into that meter went in, and then the tag, so just reiterating some of the tick boxes that we have already. So if I edit this meter, I can either click on edit or right click on the meter and configure meter, and it takes me into here. Now in here we have a series of tabs. We'll go through some of these tabs when we have a look in the metering section, but the bits I've just pointed out to you on the front page there is you've got your half hourly, you've got your core MPAN details, you've got it in the boxed version, and you've got your serial number. Then we have these other tabs across here, but the tab I'm going to have a look at today is the contract tab. So in the contract tab, if your meter is marked as a billing meter, so we have a tick in here, we will see how many accounts there are underneath the site that this meter belongs to. The one that's ticked has been associated to the meter that I'm looking at. But if I scroll down, you'll see there's other accounts in there. You can create an account from here, but there's another place that you can do it, which I'll show you in a moment. And you can associate your contract in here. So the contract is the rates for that particular meter, and that's used in two ways. It's used if you are running cost reports on a meter, and it's used in validation. So if the rate is 50 pence per unit for your standard electricity, for instance, and the bill comes in and the bill is 60 pence per unit, then it will see that difference. So this is a particular contract that it's associated with. Further down the page, you have things like the available capacity, the estimated annual consumption, TUOS demand. So what we can see from here is we're on the meter. If I go back to the general tab, we've got this meter serial number. If we look at the contract, that's associated with this account number, which is npower, and we've got a start date and an end date. It's not a mandatory field, but we do have an end date in here. And they are both connected to this cost contract. So that's looking at an individual account on a meter. If I cancel from here, if we want to see all of the accounts that are in the database, if I come across to the invoice validation menu and come down to manage accounts. So within the portfolio section, manage accounts. Quite a lot of searching that you can do in here. So you can apply a search or you can clear all the filters. And so I'm searching for everything on the database and we've just got 6 accounts that it can find. We could narrow the path down, so I can look at the different parts of the path and I could narrow it down to just the HQ or southern area, whichever part that you want. You can narrow it down to your different portfolios, to different suppliers, different fuel types, start and end dates. You can view just the closed or just the open ones. You can view those with a particular read frequency or a particular billing frequency. Or those tags that we saw on the meter, you could use those tags as well. So if you wanted to see just those accounts associated with a low frequency meter, you could do that. So you'd put in your search criteria and then apply. Then we see the grid of data. So firstly, you'll notice there are columns across here and there'll be a scroll bar that will take us across all of the columns. Some of the screens default to 10, 25 or 50, depending on what they are, but you've also got the all option there if you want to see all of the items, in this case, the accounts. So we've got the root company, we've got the portfolio name. As I said, each account is associated with a portfolio. We've got a hyperlink in the open query. So if there's any open queries, we can link straight into those. So we've got how many, whether or not it's got open and closed queries. Again, we've got the account number that we can click on and we can see more details about the account. Then we've got various other columns and it's quite a long list. If I scroll gently across, you'll see all the different fields that you can have in your grid. And then finally, you've got a notes. You can add notes into these. So I'm just going to come back to the beginning. And you've got some options with this grid. So if I click on the little dots, come down to columns, you can add in or take out the columns that suit you. So if you're not interested in, I don't know, the internal references, if it's not something you're going to use, you can take them out of your grid. And you can see there's other ones here that I haven't got ticked that could be included in there. So up to you how you put them, and then you can just drag and drop them into the order that suits you. Once you've done that, you can then save that view. So if I click on Save View, if I'm updating one, I could update. In this case, I'm doing a new one. I can call it Kim or whichever you want to call it, add a description. And if I tick Initial View, then that means it will come to that view each time I log in. If not, if I just update here, it's something that I could then choose. So I could log in and then choose that view and work from there. You might want different views for different things that you're doing. Once you have a view, let me just move something else around. And then I can go back to the save view. I can update, and I can update my view that I've just created. So the information you see, as I said, there's quite a lot of detail across there. You can move them into the columns, into the order that suits you, but there were a couple of things that were hyperlinked. So the account is a hyperlink. If I click on there, opens up a pop-up and it gives me all the details about that account. So the portfolio that it's linked to, the supplier, the account number, etc. And then the meter that it's linked to, or meters. There's a couple of more pages there of data, so if there's any account codes and account estimates can be added in there. If you wanted to make any changes, you can click on the edit to make those changes. So then the drop downs you can change and then you can save it. I've just cancelled from there. So I'm going to clear the filter again. We can see all of those accounts. So although we've got a list of accounts, by clicking on one of these, that will open up that individual account for you to have a look at or make any changes. Now I had a column for the queries, and this one says there is an open query. So this will open up another pop-up for the manage queries, and we can see the query that's in here. Go into this in more detail when we have a look at the queries. You've got a query there. So I'll just close from there for the moment. There are various actions that you can do from any of these accounts. If I right click, edit, so that's the same as I've just done by clicking on the hyperlink. We can delete an account. We can view the relevant invoices for that account. Again, we'll cover that in a different session. You can add a new invoice or add the latest invoice. Difference between the two, the add latest invoice fills in a couple of fields for you. You can add or set an account status. If I click on there, you can see open or closed. You can move an account, and this is moving it into a different portfolio. So if you wanted to move it to a different portfolio. And then lastly, a summary report. So the summary report goes to the report, downloads the PDF, and it will give me a summary of the invoices for that account. And again, we'll go into that more detail in another session. Alternatively, you can do the other types of export if you want to, but it will automatically download the PDF for you. So I haven't chose any path or any portfolio. I've only got 6 accounts, so I don't need to. But if you do, you've got the apply button. If you've applied it and you want to go back to the beginning, you can clear the filter. Once you've got some information in here, you can then filter from here. So I could filter to anything with the word training. So that's picking up the sites. I can filter to an account number, and that will pick up anything with that in the account number. So whatever's in your grid, this filter will then filter to it. You've also got the option to export by Excel or CSV. And then you've got the option to add an account there, which we'll cover in a different session. There's also the import and export. So that would allow you to export a list of all of your accounts. You can export that list, make some changes, and then import it. So if something like the payment days had changed, you could export all of those accounts, change the payment days, and then import it back in. Or if you've got another 10 accounts that you're just setting up, you could do a template file if you wanted to, add them into the template, and then import it in. And as it says here, any new data will be added to the system. Otherwise, an update will be performed on non-empty fields. Each meter number must be unique to be linked to its corresponding account in each row. So if I just export the accounts just as an example, you can see you get the information there in all of the detail. So if the billing frequency, for instance, was changing to all to quarterly, you could change them all in there, save the file, and then re-import. What you don't do is delete any columns. If the information isn't changing, you leave what's there. You don't need to delete those columns. So that's the accounts page. That's found from invoice validation and then manage accounts. With regards to any help files, if I open up the manual, we have the invoice validation section. And within there, invoices, and then manage portfolios, and then manage accounts. And then that takes you through what we've just looked at there. So the various searching, etc. So just go back into Sigma. Started off at the setup menu and configure tree. And if you're looking at an individual meter, you can either right click and configure or click on edit, click on the contract tab, and then whichever account is ticked in here is the account that's linked to that meter. And that meter is linked to the contract that's in this section here. Viewing all the meters, you can come to invoice validation, portfolios, and then manage accounts. If I clear the filter, we can then see all of the accounts. Or you search your particular path or portfolio, and then whatever's in the grid, you can then search in here. As I created a view, we can go to that view, and that changes what I see in the grid. Thank you for watching. I'll speak to you all again soon.